Go.
If you have taken the CERT Academy training, you already know how cribbing works, but it is important that everyone on our TLG CERT team know how this significant rescue technique works. It is also useful for those of us who have experience with cribbing to review what we already know. In an earthquake, the file cabinets, heavy furniture, large appliances, or a nearby structure can fall down in apartments or thereabouts. If anyone happens to be at the wrong place when this happens, they could get trapped underneath an object that's too heavy for them to self-extricate. Cribbing is a technique that is used to rescue people who are in this situation. The advantage to this technique is that it allows ordinary people to move objects of extraordinary size and weight to free people who may be trapped. So let's look at a video that shows details of how this rescue technique is done.
Let's look at the object that we got to lift. So this makes it pretty simple. All objects, for the most part, have how many corners? Four. This card has 4 corners. Your filing cabinet in your office, the chair you're sitting on, the car you drive, 4 corners touch the ground. How many corners are touching the ground now in this cabinet? 2. And that's why it's unstable. Okay? We have no stability. And by the way, all the load is on who? On the victim. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to transfer the load off the victim onto the wood, and more importantly, we're going to ground the other 2 corners so we stabilize it. So we're going to build a corner, or under the corner, and we're going to build our box, or I should say our cribbing, in the shape of a box. Now, we need to leave the center open. Why is that? Any one of those 4x4s in there, those big pieces of rock. There you go, perfect. This is going to be our fulcrum. Remember that example on the screen? That's going to go here in the middle, because when we lift, we know we have to lift from the middle. Common sense, right, for balance. You ready to keep building? Yeah. I'm going to keep building my box. You have some more wood I can borrow? I'm going to need some more. I'm probably going to need a wedge, too, if you get one over there. Thank you. Now, this piece doesn't quite fit, so I'm going to use a wedge. Now, there's no weight in here, so we need to make this more realistic. Steven? Or Esteban? Esteban.
Down the pants.
I didn't want to go there. Okay. You ready, Nancy? So you're going to use the 2x4 this way. You're going to slide in here. And you're going to bend down. Bend your knees, not your back.
Oh, you want to bend like this?
Yep. No. All the way down. Get down. Because I don't want you bending. I want you to be comfortable. Now, I want you to show how strong you are. So only use one hand. Now, how far are you in? Because here's the thing. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Because here's the thing. If you slide that 2x4 out further, you're going to get stronger. Now, how high should you lift? And the answer is only an inch. Because as we lift an inch, we're going to crib an inch. So you're going to lift the cabinet about this far, and you guys are going to pull out your wedges and continue to build. Now this is where that thing we talked about earlier, it's called communication, comes in. You 3 have to talk. When you use cribbing, the cabinet's stabilized, and even if this 2x4 breaks, it doesn't fall on the victim, it falls on the wood. And we've already begun to transfer the load off of the victim and onto the wood. So things for the victim are getting better, not worse. Okay, so you got a choice. You can go in a little further, but here's what's going to happen. You're going to lose mechanical advantage. So here's what we really need to do. You can only lift the height of your fulcrum. In this case, that's 4 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 pieces of wood underneath the 2x4 or the 4x4. So here's the cool thing. Go ahead and pull that out. You couldn't do this if you weren't using cribbing. This allows you to have options. So we pull this out. So now let's put our 2x4 back in. Nope, you're going to have to move it. Just move your 2x4 back, your 4x4. Move the fulcrum back. There you go. Perfect. Bend your knees, not your back. And you can use both hands if you like. Watch, make sure you don't slip out there because you're getting pretty far up. Now, Michelle, you're starting to get kind of narrow on your box. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got to build the box the full width of the wood. Even if you're not under the cabinet, I want to see full width so you have stability. And by the way, how high do you have to lift? Absolutely, just high enough to clear the victim. So how are we doing over there? Are we clearing the victim yet?
Almost.
Esther?
We're clear.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe not his other leg, so maybe a little more.
Maybe you yank a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Do we need to go higher? Can you put a wedge in there? You need to put a wedge in, Esther. There you go. Beautiful. Okay.
We have feet that can
Did we pull them out?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you lifting up? Go ahead and lift up. There you go. Okay, we're done. Let's drag him out. And here's something else I would do. I'd probably throw this guy into the mix too. I would take this lever and turn it into a guide. I would slide this between, excuse me, Nancy, in between him and the wood that I just built. So when these feet start coming out, they don't hang up on my wood and pull it out. Okay? So Nancy, you want to get over here and straighten out these feet? You have to eyeball that. Now watch your fingers, watch your hands.
Okay, I'm gonna pull. Okay.
Don't put your hands under there, Nancy. There you go. Beautiful. That's it. Now.
So let's summarize what we have learned from this video. As you start, remember to keep everyone safe. Your objective is to extricate the victim without putting any CERT members in harm's way. You will need to have someone get the equipment you will need from the CERT room. Move with deliberate, careful speed. Someone must be in charge to make assignments. If the team has not done cribbing recently, be sure to explain what will happen before you start. One of the first things we conclude is that it's best to build cribbing box platforms at the corners of a heavy object. The cribbing process starts by building box platforms that don't yet touch the underside of the fallen object. Once these are in place, a lever and fulcrum is used to begin the lifting process. This lifting is done from the center of the object, which is likely midway between the two corners where the cribbing platforms are placed. With a lever such as this, a single 100-pound person could easily exert as much as 2,000 pounds of lifting force. The idea to do this lifting safely so that no CERT member is hurt and so the victim is not further injured. After all, if a CERT team member is hurt in the lifting process, they cannot continue to be helpful to the safety of the community. So it's important that this process be done deliberately, slowly, and safely for the team and for the victim. As the process proceeds, it is very important that the team members doing the cribbing and lifting communicate with each other. Since cribbing is a process where the block placers alternate their activity with the lever people, it's important that the communication be clear and concise. Here is what the dialogue might sound like. The lever person should ask if the block placers are ready for the lift. If they don't have additional blocks and wedges at the ready, they would say no and ask to have some extra blocks brought to them. If they are ready, they will give the lever person permission to proceed. When the lever person has done the small lift, maybe 1 or 2 inches at most, he or she will indicate that it's time for the block people to do their work by inserting additional blocks and wedges. When they are done, they should alert the lever person that they are finished and ready for the release of the lever so a new lift position can be set. When this is done, the lever person asks once again if the block placers are ready for the next lift, and the process proceeds slowly upward in steps until the desired rescue height is achieved. This would be a height that is large enough to allow the victim to be slid away from the location where they're trapped. I can't say it often enough. It is important that everyone on the team keep their fingers and hands from occupying the space between the object and the top of the cribbing platforms and from the space under the heavy object. If the lifting lever should suddenly break or the lever person should suddenly lose their grip, the heavy object could come down suddenly on the cribbing platform and trap a CERT member's hands. It is likely that a victim trapped under a heavy object will require medical attention. For this reason, a first aid person or whoever is available to help should slide the victim out as carefully and efficiently as possible so that no further injury will result from this extrication process. Even after the victim is out, the process is not yet completed until all cribbing equipment is removed from under the heavy object. For one thing, the suspended object could possibly fall off of the cribbing platform during an aftershock and could thus trap another victim. It is best to minimize this possibility. It is also likely that the equipment will be needed elsewhere on the property, so the wood blocks and the lever should be extricated from the site so that these can be used again when needed. This equipment removal will require an incremental process that reverses the lifting process. Once completed, it would likely be a good idea to put a sign on the fallen object warning residents to stay away from this unstable piece of furniture in case an aftershock causes it to move further. The video part of this presentation was collected from a YouTube video done by a company in Palm Desert, California. They are involved in emergency training and will sell products including cribbing block kits that help communities prepare for emergency situations. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about cribbing with help from Terry.